Good morning, children. Today, let us start with cell biology, the study of cells. Cell biology is the study of cells. And you all know the cell is the structural and functional unit of all living organisms. Structural unit because it is the basic unit present in all living organisms. Even a single unicellular organism contains one cell. And in multicellular organisms, this forms the base structure for giving the shape of the body. So we call it as a structural unit. And all the metabolic activities occur inside the cell. So we call it as the functional unit. And this cell has the independent existence. If you take out one cell from the body and keep it in an isotonic medium, it can exist independently. But if you break the cell membrane, take out a nucleus, separate mitochondria, separate ribosomes and all the cell organelles and keep the same cell organelles in the same isotonic medium, they cannot live. They perish. So they do not have independent existence. But if all the cell organelles with the cell membrane is kept intact in the isotonic medium, they live independently. So we define the cell as the structural and functional unit of life which has independent existence. Lesser than the cell, like virus, viroids, they cannot have independent existence. They depend on others they act as parasites for reproduction. So they are not considered as living organisms, or they are lesser than a cell. For the first time, Robert Hooke, a scientist, he observed the dead cork cells of a plant under his microscope. For him, these cells appeared like small, tightly packed compartments. And in those days, monks used to live in small compartments known as cellula. And he remembered those cellulae. Cellula is a singular, cellulae is a plural. So Robert Hooke remembered the cellula where the monks live, and he thought that those cellula and these tightly packed compartments are looking alike, and he gave the term cellula to one compartment. Later, it turned into cell. From cellula, the word cell came into existence, and this is what he wrote in his book Micrographia. Is the book written by Robert Hooke. So, for the first time, the credit of discovery of the cell goes to Robert Hooke, and he discovered a dead cell. And moreover, what he saw, the outer lining of the cell is cell wall because it is a plant cell. Later, Antony van Leeuwenhoek, another scientist with his own magnifying lens which are having different magnifying capacities, he observed living organisms. He observed pond water. In the pond water, he observed bacteria. He called these bacteria as animalcules. Later, he observed sperms. Later, RBC. And many other things are observed by this Antony van Leeuwenhoek. Is the first person who observed living cells. And later Robert Brown discovered the nucleus. Later cytoplasm known as a sarcode is discovered by Dujardin, and many other scientists worked later after these two scientists. M.J. Schleiden and Theodor Schwann, these are the two scientists who worked on cell theory. Till now, they identified the cell, but they could not say where these cells are present and how the cells originated. They could not say. These Schleiden and Schwann. Schleiden is a German botanist. You have to remember. German botanist. Germany is famous. Hitler is a German. He loves plants. In the same way, Schleiden is also a German botanist. He observed number of plants and he observed the cells which are present in the plants. He said plants are made up of cells. He told this in the year 1838. And the next year, Theodor Schwann, in the next year, that is 1839, he observed number of animal cells, and he also said that animals are also made up of cells. So both of them put forth cell theory. So cell theory was put forwarded by Schleiden and Schwann. Schleiden is a German botanist and Schwann is a England zoologist. This Schwann observed both plants and animals, and he said that all plants and animals are made up of cells. So this is the cell theory put forward by Schleiden and Schwann in the year 1838 and 1839. But both of them could not explain how the first cell is formed. So in addition to these two scientists, Schleiden and Schwann, one more scientist came known as Rudolf Virchow or Virchow. So he added one more point to this cell theory in 1855. And it says that all cells evolved from pre-existing cells. Already one cell is there. From that pre-existing cell, the next cells have took their origin. That is known as, he put forward this as a phrase known as omnis cellula acellula. Omni is the living, cellula is the cell. So living cells originated from pre-existing cells. This can be an important bit. Who proposed omnis cellula acellula? It is given by Rudolf Virchow. And all together, Schleiden, Schwann, Virchow, what all these three scientists said came as cell lineage theory or modern theory, cell modern theory. So what are the important constituents of this cell lineage theory? First, proposed by Matthias Schleiden, botanist, German botanist, Theodor Schwann, England zoologist. Schwann discovered plasma membrane and cell wall in plants. Schleiden, he said that all plants are made up of cells. Schwann discovered both plasma membrane and cell wall in the plants. And they said all living organisms are composed of cells and products of their cells. What are these products? Cells combine to form tissues, tissues into organs, organs into organ systems, and organ systems into the individual. So it can be, if it is a unicellular, only one cell. If it is a multicellular, product of the cells, multiplication of the cells into tissues, organs, organ systems in this way. And activities of the organism are the outcome of the sum of total activities and the interaction of their constituents. So when do the person eat? When he feels hungry. When he feels hungry, when the cells are devoid of glucose or they need extra energy, then he feels hungry and he goes for eating. So whatever the organism is doing, it is due to the metabolic activities that happen inside the cell. And what is the place where these metabolic activities occurring? That is cytoplasm. Cytoplasm is the place where highest metabolic activities takes place inside the cell. And at the end, Rudolf Virchow in 1855, he added omnis cellulae acellulae, that is all living cells, they come from pre-existing cells. This is cell theory, an important 3-mark question. Who proposed cell theory? Schleiden and Schwann. Schleiden is a German botanist. Schwann is an England zoologist. What are their postulates? All living organisms are composed of cells and products of their cells. Activity of an organism is the outcome of sum of activities that happen inside the cell, and omnis cellulae acellulae, that is All cells arise from pre-existing cells. Now, what are the various kinds of cells? You know very many types of cells. You know about the nerve cell, muscle cell, smooth muscle, striated muscle, then bone cell. Then you know about the sperm, ovum, RBC, different kinds of WBC, glandular cells which produce hormones, enzymes, etc. So there is a great diversity in the type of cells. And what is the smallest cell and what is the largest cell? Smallest cell is PPLO, plural pneumonia like organism. So this is an organism which causes pneumonia, and pleuron is the membrane of the lung. So because pneumonia is caused to the membrane of the lung in the cattle, it is known as PPLO, plural pneumonia like organism. And the size of this PPLO is 0.1 to 0.3 micrometer. This is one PPLO. So it is a kind of bacteria which lack cell wall. Bacteria have cell wall, but PPLOs, mycoplasma, the other name for PPLO is mycoplasma. This mycoplasma is a kind of bacteria without cell wall. That is the smallest cell. And the largest cell is the egg of an ostrich. 15 centimeters in diameter, we can see that with a naked eye. And the longest cell is that of the neuron. It is having a length of 80 centimeter. It extends from our thigh to the tip of the toe. So longest cell is the neuron. Then, what are the factors which govern the cell size? How is the cell size maintained in the cells? The first one is nuclear cytoplasmic ratio. So nucleus, you all know that nucleus is the main cell organelle which controls all the other cell organelles. So it is considered as the master of cell organelles. So nucleus, if the nucleus is bigger in size and cytoplasm amount is small, nuclear cytoplasmic ratio, this nucleus can control all the cytoplasmic activities very nicely. But when the food is available in plenty way, what happens to these protozoans? We have studied amoeba, euglena, paramecium. When the food is available plenty, they undergo binary fission. So when the food is available, the cytoplasmic components, they increase in their size. So nuclear cytoplasmic ratio decreases. Nucleus becomes so small, whereas the cytoplasmic content becomes increased. So to maintain this nuclear cytoplasmic ratio, cell divides so that the nucleus can nicely take control over the cytoplasmic components and the activities that occur in the cytoplasm. Next one, surface area to volume ratio. So what is this surface area to the volume ratio? Now let us consider a small cube which is having the size of 1 centimeter length and breadth and height. So we have taken a small cube. What is its surface area? Area of a cube, L into B or side into side. And we have 6 such surfaces in this cuboid. We consider this as a cell. We are taking one cuboid with 1 centimeter length, 1 centimeter side, and we are calculating the surface area of this cuboid. So the surface area becomes length into breadth into number of sides. 1 into 1 into 6, that is 6 square centimeter. If you consider the volume, LBH, length into breadth into height, that is 1 into 1 into 1 comes to 1 cubic centimeter. So what is the ratio of surface area to volume? 6:1. Now the cell have increased in its size. So it increased to, let us consider that It increased to 2 centimeter length and 2 centimeter breadth. What happens to surface area? 2 into 2 into 6 sides, that is 24 square centimeter. And what is the volume? L into B into H, that is 2 into 2 into 2, that is 8 cubic centimeter. So the ratio of surface area to volume comes to 24:8, that is 3:1. So in the first case, when the cell size is 1 centimeter, the ratio is 6:1. When the cell have grown, it increased in its mass size to 2 centimeters, the ratio is 3:1. So what happened to the ratio? The ratio is decreasing. So as the ratio decreases, as the surface area decreases to the volume ratio, the cell becomes metabolically inactive. It becomes inactive to do any other work. So the surface area to volume ratio has to be maintained. To maintain this ratio, cells once again divide. And the third one is metabolism of the animal. Smaller cells are metabolically active than the larger cells. So the cells tend to be small in size. If the cytoplasmic ratio, cytoplasmic content ratio increases, the cells divide. So these are the three factors which govern the size of a cell. They are nuclear cytoplasmic ratio, surface area to volume ratio, and metabolism of the cell. Metabolically active cells are smaller cells. Always smaller cells are active. By this we have completed the introduction of the cell, and basing on the presence and absence of the nuclear membrane, we divided the cells into prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells. Pro is primitive, karyon nucleus. So the cells which have primitive nucleus are known as prokaryotic cells. And the cells which have true, U means true, karyon is the nucleus, true nucleus, that is the nucleus is covered by a nuclear membrane, then we call it as eukaryotic cell. So in the next class we'll start with the eukaryotic cell, that is the plant cell. Thank you, children.